On the night of March 13, 1997, something crossed the skies above Arizona, and thousands of people looked up. Some saw only distant lights. Others described something much stranger, a formation moving silently across the sky. Some witnesses believed the lights were attached to a single enormous object, and what happened that night would become one of the most famous UFO incidents in American history. Today, we call it the Phoenix Lights, but there is a problem with that name, because the Phoenix Lights may actually have been two different events. The first reports began earlier in the evening. Witnesses across Arizona described a group of lights moving south through the state. The formation was often described as a V or a massive triangular shape. People watched from different locations as it appeared to travel across hundreds of miles, and some witnesses claimed it didn't look like separate aircraft at all. They said the space between the lights appeared dark, solid, as though the lights belonged to one enormous craft. There was another detail that appeared repeatedly in eyewitness accounts: silence, something that large witnesses argued should have produced an enormous amount of noise. Instead, it seemed to glide across the sky. Then, later that night, another group of lights appeared near Phoenix. These were different. Instead of traveling across the state, they appeared almost stationary in the distance, forming a bright line over the horizon. This second event produced some of the most famous video associated with the Phoenix Lights, and it also has the strongest conventional explanation. Military officials said aircraft participating in a training exercise had dropped illumination flares over the Barry-Goldwater Range. Because the flares descended slowly behind distant mountains, observers in Phoenix could see individual lights appear to hover and then disappear. For many researchers, that explains the famous footage from later that evening, but it doesn't necessarily end the story, because witnesses to the earlier moving formation insisted they had seen something completely different. Aircraft flying in formation have been proposed as an explanation. From far away, several aircraft lights moving together can create the illusion of a single object, especially against a dark sky with few visual reference points. That explanation is entirely plausible, but some people who were there remain unconvinced, and one of them eventually became the most famous witness of all. At the time of the incident, Fife Symington was the governor of Arizona. As public fascination grew, Symington held a press conference that became famous for making light of the UFO story. An aide appeared dressed as an alien, turning the entire thing into a joke. Years later, however, Symington revealed something extraordinary.
As Team 12's William Pitts shows us, we've seen big bombshell revelations and admissions over the past 18 months or so that some think may eventually lead to answers about the Phoenix Lights.
Bright lights in a V shape, maybe a massive ship miles wide, right over Phoenix. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people saw them on March 13, 1997.
Look at that. He said he had personally witnessed the phenomenon. He described seeing a large craft-like object and said that what he observed did not resemble anything familiar to him. That admission transformed the Phoenix Light story. The man who had publicly mocked the event claimed that privately, he had been one of its witnesses. And that is why the Phoenix Lights remain so difficult to reduce to one simple explanation. Some of the lights captured on video have a credible military explanation. Other sightings may have involved aircraft traveling in formation. Human perception at night can turn distant points of light into shapes that seem far larger and closer than they really are. None of that requires an extraterrestrial spacecraft, but it also doesn't erase what people remember seeing. Hundreds of observations, different locations, different descriptions, and a strange formation moving across the Arizona sky. Nearly 3 decades later, the most interesting question may not be whether aliens visited Phoenix. We have no evidence that proves they did. The real question is simpler. Did every person who looked up that night see the same thing? Or did several completely ordinary events combine almost perfectly to create one extraordinary legend? Because sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't created by a lack of explanations. They're created when there are too many,